and welcome back to English Lessons with Stephanie. This is writing lesson number 2 that goes along with the reading passage for this week, The Shelter of Routine. Today we're going to talk about this second vocabulary set, which contains these words. The first word was pandemic. Pandemic is a noun, it's a countable noun, and it means a situation in which a disease is spreading worldwide. So in the reading, it said, I'm sheltering in place because of the coronavirus pandemic. We can also say during the pandemic, because a pandemic is like something that happens to us. Everyone stayed at home. I hope we don't have another pandemic anytime soon. And there's no verb or adjective form for this word. Our next word is actually. Actually is an adverb. It ends in ly, so that's a clue. And it means in reality. Or we use this word to stress the opposite of the meaning of this word is in reality. And sometimes we use this word to stress that the opposite of what is expected is true. So in the reading, it said, my life actually hasn't changed very much during the pandemic, which means that you would expect the opposite to be true. You would expect that your life changed a lot during the pandemic. But since that's not true, we put actually there to show that the opposite is true. The second sentence has a similar meaning. Don't be sad about losing your job. This will actually be a good opportunity for you, right? So it's normal. You would expect to be sad, but the opposite should be true here. You should actually not be sad because this could actually be a good opportunity instead of a bad opportunity. Or in the third sentence, I didn't have breakfast. I'm not actually very hungry. We would expect you to be hungry because you didn't have breakfast, but the reality is the opposite. You're actually not hungry. Our third word is a set of words, maternity leave. So the word maternity is a non-count noun, but in this phrase, it's used like an adjective because leave is an adjective here. Leave is an absence from work, and maternity means the act of being a mother. So put together, these two words, maternity leave, means an absence from work for a woman to have a baby. If you're a man taking an absence from work, it's called paternity leave. So in the story, I was on maternity leave. And maternity leave here in the US typically is not very good. Our next word is extension. So extension is a noun, it's countable. And extension is the act or object which makes something longer, wider, or bigger. So this can be something physical, like if you have a house, you can make an extension to it. That means you make it bigger. Or in the reading, it said, the shelter in place has become an extension of my maternity leave. So maternity leave is a length of time. And because we stayed at home longer than normal, that extended my maternity leave. So my maternity leave became longer. So the second sentence, we were building an extension to our kitchen, right? That's something physical. Or in the third sentence, I love this hotel. Let's extend our stay for another few days. That means you're going to stay there longer. So that's a longer time. That's using the verb extend. There's also an adjective form, extensive, which means wide and long, or comprehensive. There's an adverb form. And in the other column, I wrote extend an offer because this is a phrase that you hear commonly in English with the verb extend. So to extend an offer means to give someone the opportunity or to make something available for a longer amount of time. Our next word is varying, and it's related to the word variety, and it means made different because the verb form is vary, right? To vary something means to make it different. And so varying is the adjective form. There are three different adjectives from There are three different adjective forms from variety. And you can see that varying comes from vary, like I just said, and varied would be the effect. The first adjective form, though, various, isn't something that's made different. It's something that just is different already. So, for example, if you say, we have various, you might say there are various opportunities for you in this area. That means there are many different kinds of opportunities. So in the read, In the reading, it said, every day for me is pretty much the same, varying only according to infant naps and feedings. That means the day is only different because of naps and feedings. The second sentence uses the verb form. In normal circumstances, my schedule varies from day to day. That means it's different every day. And in the third sentence, we have the noun form. I like to read a variety of books. That means many different types of books. Notice that variety is a countable noun, so we have to say, I like to read a variety of books. Our next word is bake. In the reading, I said, most mornings I bake something. And bake is a verb, which means to cook something in an oven. And here's a picture of some lovely baked bread. We use the adjective baked bread. There are two noun forms that come from bake. Baker is a person who bakes, and a bakery is a place where you buy delicious baked goods. So usually we use the verb bake for things with flour, things that rise in an oven, but you can also use baked with other things like baked chicken, baked salmon, other than just baking cookies and cakes. Our next word is chore. In the reading, it said, every morning I do chores, like vacuuming. And a chore is a countable noun, and it is something that needs to be done regularly. So typical chores would be vacuuming, doing the laundry, washing dishes, taking out the garbage. All of these things are chores. We also use the word chore to describe something that is just boring, but we have to do it. So for example, if your job is to be an actor, that would be a really cool, fun job. But there could be chores in your life too, like signing autographs. That could be a chore if it's something you do and you don't like it. Or in the last sentence on this page, I wrote, I love to bake, but I don't want to be a professional baker, because then baking would become a chore. I wouldn't like it as much, right? If you have to bake every single day, if it's something you must do, it will become a chore for you. Our next word is vacuum, which is one of the chores I listed. And it means here to use air or to use a vacuum to clean something up. We have a picture here of someone cleaning up confetti after a party. So vacuum is the same as a noun and a verb. I have a vacuum, or I use my vacuum to vacuum. Stretch of time is a phrase. Stretch and time are kind of interesting because they can both be nouns and verbs. And in this phrase, stretch of time, stretch is being used as a noun, and time is also being used as a noun. So a stretch of time is a period of time, and it's usually sort of long comparatively. In the reading, it said, this is the longest stretch of time that I have to myself each day. And that means it's a pretty long amount of time relative to the day. You can also say he can go for long stretches of time without eating. So if you want to make this phrase plural, you make stretch plural, stretches of time, not stretch of times. Our next word is concentration, which is a non-count noun because it is a feeling or, it's a feeling, so it's non-count. It's also a verb, concentrate, and an adjective, concentrated. So concentration means focused thought. I said in the reading that I work on tutorials or anything else that requires concentration while my daughter is napping. It means I have to think really hard and I need to focus. In the second sentence, it says, it's too noisy for me to concentrate on my project. And the third one, she won't pick up the phone if she's very concentrated on something. So we've got the noun form, the verb form, and an adjective form. And you'll notice that in the second and third sentences, we have a preposition after the verb and adjective form, on, right? So that's why concentrate is an intransitive verb, because it's followed by a preposition. We always have to say, I need to concentrate on something. So I don't say, I concentrate homework. I concentrate on my homework. Our next word is break. And a break is a short period of rest. So I said in the reading, this is often when he takes a short break. We can also use break as a verb. So you might hear someone say, let's break for 20 minutes. But it's more common to say, I want to take a break. Our next word is mood. Mood is a countable noun that describes a temporary feeling. In the reading, we had the sentence, she eats again, and then we play piano, get out some of her toys, or read some books, depending on her mood. And that was describing how the baby was feeling. So if she's feeling happy, we might play piano, or if she's feeling tired, we could read some books. The second sentence says, I wouldn't bother her if she's in a bad mood. So notice this phrase, in a bad mood. It could also be in a good mood, in a funny mood, or just in a mood. So we describe a mood as a state that we are in. Next, we have mood as an adjective, moody. And to be moody usually means that your mood changes very quickly, or changes a lot, or in a bad mood. Exhausted is our next word. Exhausted has a full word family. So the noun form is exhaustion. It means very tired. Exhaust is the verb form. And then the two adjective forms, exhausted and exhausting. So something that causes you to feel very tired is exhausting, and you feel the effect, which is exhausted. And the adverb form is exhaustingly. So I wrote, I'm exhausted at the end of every day. But you could say climbing mountains is exhausting. That means it causes you to feel tired. And after the 8-mile run, he thought he would die of exhaustion, right? Die of tiredness. Then we have the phrase, a silver lining. And silver, like the color or the material silver, is a precious metal. And this comes from a saying, an idiom in English, that says every cloud has a silver lining, right? Cloud, like the white things in the sky. So clouds are usually thought of as bad things because they cover the sun, right? Cloudy days are not beautiful. But there are good things about clouds too. And a silver lining means that there's something silver around the cloud. Lining is like an outline. So a silver lining means a good part of a bad situation, right? So even gray clouds have good parts to them too. So in the reading, I said, spending time with my daughter is definitely a silver lining in these troubling times, right? So the pandemic is like the cloud, but the silver lining of the cloud of the pandemic is that I get to spend time with my daughter. And finally, we have the word troubling. So in that same sentence, we said troubling times, and troubling means worrisome or problematic, something that causes you to feel bad. And this comes from the noun form trouble. Trouble can be both a non-count or a countable noun. Trouble is also a transitive verb. It means to cause trouble or to feel trouble. So in the second sentence, we could say those two fight a lot. There's always trouble between them. That's the trouble. That's the noun form. And then the last sentence, my sister's divorce is troubling me lately. I've been very worried about her. So troubling me means it causes me to feel worried. It's causing trouble for me. It's causing me problems. Okay, so that's enough vocabulary for this week. So let's write. Practice using your new vocabulary by writing a sentence using each new vocabulary word. You can also summarize the week's reading in 1 or 2 sentences. And then finally, another way to practice this week would be to write a paragraph describing your routine during the pandemic. And this is also an opportunity for you to use the grammar points that we learned this week about the present simple tense. So you're going to remember that when you write about routines, things you do every day, you should be using the present simple tense. Like every day I walk my dog, every day I read a book, every day I study English, every day I watch an English video, etc. So thanks for joining me, and please continue on with tomorrow's lesson, the speaking lesson.